When you think of ancient Roman gladiators, what comes to mind? Huge, muscle-bound warriors fighting to the death in a dusty arena, a cruel emperor giving a thumbs down, and the crowd roaring for blood. Well, what if I told you that most of what you've seen in movies is a dramatic exaggeration, or in some cases, completely wrong? The real story of the gladiators is far more complex, fascinating, and even a bit surprising. So, grab a seat, because today, we're peeling back the layers of myth to uncover the truth about these legendary fighters of the ancient world. First, let's talk about who these gladiators actually were. The popular image is that they were all slaves, condemned criminals, or prisoners of war forced into the arena. While that was true for many, it's not the whole story. A significant number of gladiators were actually volunteers, known as ****. These were free men, often ex-soldiers or citizens who had fallen into debt, who signed a contract to become gladiators. Why? For the same reasons people pursue dangerous professions today: money, fame, and glory. Top gladiators were the rock stars of their time. They had fan clubs, their images were on oil lamps and mosaics, and they could earn enough prize money to not only buy their freedom, but to live very comfortably. It was a high-risk, high-reward career path. Now, what about the most famous myth of all, that every fight ended in death? This is one of Hollywood's biggest fibs. Think about it from a purely business perspective. A gladiator was an incredibly expensive investment. Their owner, the ****, had to pay for their housing, their food, and their extensive training under specialized coaches. It would be terrible business to have your prize asset killed in their very first fight. The reality is that death in the arena was the exception, not the rule. Most fights were governed by strict rules and had a referee, much like a modern boxing match. The goal was often to fight until first blood or until one combatant surrendered, which they did by raising a finger. At this point, the crowd and the event organizer would decide their fate. And that brings us to the famous thumbs down gesture. Surprise, it probably didn't mean death. Historical sources are a bit murky, but many scholars now believe the thumbs down gesture, or ****pollis verso***, might have actually meant spare him, symbolizing sheathing a sword. A thumb pointed up or towards the throat might have been the real signal for death. Regardless, the decision wasn't just a whim. If a gladiator fought bravely and put on a good show, even in defeat, the crowd would often demand he be spared to fight another day. They were fans, after all, and they wanted to see their favorite stars return. A cowardly performance, however, was a different story. Let's also bust the myth that gladiators were just mindless brutes. Their training was highly specialized and incredibly rigorous. They lived in schools called ****, which were part barracks, part prison. Their diet was carefully managed not to build lean muscle like a modern athlete, but to create a layer of fat over their muscles. This might sound strange, but that layer of fat helped protect them from superficial cuts to nerves and muscles, which could end a fight prematurely. They ate a lot of barley, beans, and dried fruit, earning them the nickname ***horde, or barley men. They were also highly skilled specialists. A gladiator didn't just grab any sword and shield. There were many different types of gladiators, each with unique armor and weapons, creating exciting and strategic matchups. For example, you had the ****, who fought with a net and a trident, lightly armored but quick. He was often pitted against the heavily armed ****, who had a large shield and a short sword. This was a classic speed versus power matchup. There was the ****Murmillo***, with his fish-crested helmet, the ****Threx** with his curved blade, and even female gladiators, the ****Gladiatrices***, though they were rare. Each type required a different fighting style, and a successful gladiator had to be a master of their specific discipline. It was like a violent, ancient version of mixed martial arts, with carefully balanced pairings designed for maximum entertainment. So, what was the point of all this? The gladiator games, or ****Munera***, were more than just brutal entertainment. They were a fundamental part of Roman society and politics. For the emperors and wealthy politicians who sponsored them, the games were a way to win public favor. Giving the people bread and circuses was a tried-and-true method for keeping the population happy and distracted. The games demonstrated the power and reach of the Roman Empire, showcasing exotic animals and fighters from conquered lands. For the people, it was a thrilling spectacle, a community event, and a way to vicariously experience the Roman ideals of courage, discipline, and fighting skill, even in the face of death. The life of a gladiator was undoubtedly harsh, violent, and short. The average gladiator probably didn't live past their late 20s. But it wasn't a constant, hopeless bloodbath. There was a chance for glory, freedom, and wealth. They were highly trained, well-fed athletes who were part of a complex system of entertainment and politics. They had fans, rivalries, and legacies. Some, like the legendary gladiator Flamma, were offered their freedom multiple times, but chose to keep fighting because it's what they did best. It was who they were. The real story is one of survival, skill, and a strange kind of celebrity, born from the brutal realities of the ancient world. The age of the gladiators eventually came to an end. As the Roman Empire adopted Christianity, the games were seen as pagan and barbaric. The enormous cost of staging them also became unsustainable as the empire's economy declined. The last known gladiator fight in Rome took place in the early 5th century AD, but their legacy endures. They were more than just slaves fighting for their lives. They were professional entertainers, celebrated athletes, and a symbol of Roman culture's complex relationship with violence, honor, and spectacle. The real gladiators were far more interesting than the one-dimensional characters we see in movies. So the next time you watch a movie set in ancient Rome, remember the real story behind the sword and sandal. It's a tale not just of blood and sand, but of business, celebrity, and the surprising humanity of the men and women who fought in the arena. They were the superstars of the ancient world, and their true story is one for the ages. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into ancient Rome. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the past. Let me know in the comments which gladiator type you think was the coolest. Until next time, stay curious.